We've arrived. And so we enter the gates of doom. Razor concertina wire everywhere. And checking us in. We get to do the cavity search and the delousing before you enter. All right, we've arrived. They're opening this one up for them to do makeup and whatnot. And this looks like, I don't know what this is. I thought it was a cell block, but probably not. Most of the buildings are not open yet. Lauren, our resident paranormal expert, says that she's already getting stuff, and we're not even inside yet.
Yeah, not getting anything specific, just plugging into the vibes of the building, and like my heart rate's already up. I'm starting to feel the overwhelmingness, no, not vomit, the overwhelmingness of the building, the history, just all of it. It's a lot of emotions. It's just a lot all at once. And when we were standing over there, like, it felt almost like a kick to the gut. Not like literally, not like somebody like kicked me in the gut, but it just kind of hits you all of a sudden and you're just like, whoa. So yeah, it's going to be a wild day.
Interesting.
It's going to be a wild day, yeah.
All right then. Well, that's the beginning.
Big mural on the side.
Oh, nice paint. Oh, this is very impressive.
Oh, holy shit. Oh, my. Okay. Okay, hello. Yep. That's a lot.
So basically what was happening there was whenever I cross a threshold, like typically, any sort of doorway or passing into a new room, I cross into a natural threshold. And a lot of times with the way that I connect into things is that, each space is kind of like its own contained thing, and crossing into that threshold, I immediately kind of plug into that space. So when I go into a new room, that's when I most intensely feel whatever is going on in that room. And because that was our first crossing into the actual buildings rather than just, the property, like now we're inside a building, it kind of hit me all at once, all those intense feelings of the prison with, the anger, the depression, the violence, just all of that kind of just went whoof into me, just, all at once. So it can be very overwhelming for me when I'm passing over a threshold for the first time in a space. And, I'm always prepared for it, but it's still, a little bit of a kick to the gut, even no matter how prepared you are. And it can be just a lot of feelings just all at once hitting you.
And plus, you didn't know what to expect. So being that's the very first building that we walked into, and we weren't even sure at that point what type of building it was.
Yeah.
We thought it was part of the cell blocks maybe or something.
Yeah.
Turns out it's the honor dorm where the best prisoners would get to stay in more relaxed conditions than open doors and everything. They didn't have a cell.
Yeah.
It had a steel door on it, so it was a little bit more benign place. But as you'll see as we go into the video, we get to meet William.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So
we'll get to say hi to William.
Keep watching.
This still shine.
Oh, this is nice. Smell that dampness. Sweet. This probably is the hospital, I bet, huh?
Not this section. There's
No?
another, the building at the far end. I think
What was this? Do you know?
This one I have no idea. But there's a building on the far wall, and you'll see it says medical on top.
Oh, okay.
If you guys want to go through here, any of the cubbies, buildings, feel free to mark our spot. Before this was actually actually the model prisoner building, so it was called the Honor Dorm. So you were allowed like a cell by yourself. You could have some TV privileges. It was more of like a dormitory type setting than your traditional like cell blocks.
So they're all open rather than
There
locked
were
in.
doors towards the end when they were just doing more processing and converted them to office buildings. They took a lot of that away. But the
Okay.
tour will come in and it'll just loop right here. Anything past this door, they will not go. So feel free to just set up in anything in the back of the building.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to come out here and shoot and do anything. But as far as don't want anyone disturbing your equipment or your setup, anything past the door.
Nobody will bother it. Okay. All right, we're gonna wander. Thank you. You know, I need to put my rigger glasses on, I think. I cannot see anymore. Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Humble Beast. Swervo NLMB Humble Beast. What does that mean, I wonder?
That's a nice shot. I like that.
Can you come stand over here, honey, in the doorway again for me? I just want a shadow on that. It's okay? Oh, yeah. Better. Okay. What are you getting?
Just a lot of feelings.
Okay, so we wanted to explain a little bit about how little Alice was connecting with the prison and the different various spaces that we went into. You'll see that she's touching the wall, and you'll see that repeatedly throughout the different videos. So what exactly are you doing when you did that?
So y'all will hear me use the terminology a lot of me plugging into a space. And that's the best way that I can describe it is I often describe how I connect into the spiritual realm as kind of like, you know, plugging into an electrical socket. And that's essentially what I'm doing is I'm, you know, using physical touch to, you know, plug into the wall. And, you know, directly through that touch, you know, I'm able to get feelings and information and memories and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of this like network almost that through touching the wall I can not only get information from that actual building space, but also if there are any spirits or entities in that particular space, I can also then it's all of a sudden like a light turns on and I can see, all right, what's all everything that's kind of in here at the moment, and I can start to investigate, okay, there's something over here, you know, there's something over there, and as I get closer and have closer proximity to anything, I am able to have a stronger connection and gain more information about whatever is going on.
That's interesting. So, all right, so let's keep moving. Next. This is where all the good people came,
Yeah.
relatively.
That's why it's like, it's not like intense yet. Like I don't feel like that like crazy like rage and like that like we feel immediately when we get an OSR. It's more like this like stagnant isn't the right word. You know when like an animal is caged, it's just pacing back and forth. It's like that. It feels like that. Just this like tense agitation, but not quite like rawr, you know. It's like the calm. It's
interesting.
like right before the storm, sort of bouncing.
Huh. All right. Well, so far so good, I guess. Let's motor along and see what we find here. Bricked in walls. Huh. Man. I have to say, for a makeup area, this is pretty grim. Puto! Right in front of behind you, see? Puto! I think the Hispanics have been in here writing their graffiti.
Bad, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's
for
bad.
us, it's a rice cake.
A rice cake. Nice.
It's in a rice cake.
Oh. Matt 600. Oh, nice. I always like that. A little fresh air. Through the grapevine, it looks like.
Wait.
Looks like it. Looks like some kind of commissary or something here, maybe desks where they did something. Huh. Maybe since this was the nice area, maybe they food or books or something. Wonder how we can go upstairs. Did you see any stairway? Mm-mm. So we found, you'll see, we wanted to get up to the second level of this honor dorm, but it was not possible. The only stairs that we could find were outside, and it was all cordoned off with fencing, barbed wire. Doors were all locked and chained, and when we asked, we couldn't get upstairs. We had the same problems in a number of areas. We wanted to get into the hospital.
The laundry room.
And the laundry room, which was all blocked off. The hospital and the was it the No, not solitary. It was, what was the other one?
It was like
near
the
there?
admin area where like the warden stayed and stuff like
Right.
that.
Most of them were collapsing. It had rained a lot recently. Everything was flooded, and there was a lot of collapsing buildings. That's just why they're doing the tours, and they're letting people pay to come in and see, so that they can try to restore some of it.
Some of it's definitely beyond repair.
Yeah,
You'll see later in the video, there's some areas where it's so severely collapsed, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, and you'll also see we went to an area that we were not supposed to.
We didn't realize it.
Because the night before, some vandals had broken in, and we saw during the day the volunteers were scrubbing graffiti off of the streets and the sidewalks and the buildings, because they had come in. And what had happened is in the west cell block, they had taken off some of the tape and removed it. And we went upstairs, and it wasn't supposed to be safe, but we went up anyway. And then from there, we were able to walk all the way through the west cell block, through the admin area, which they said, I think was within the last week, they had seen it collapse. Literally, and you can see in the video, there's sections that are completely caved in adjacent to where we were walking. So we had no idea that we were not supposed to be there. We knew it was collapsing.
Yeah.
That wasn't a shock to us. But over the last, I don't know, well, not in the last 7 years because I've been overseas, but before that, we used to go into all kinds of abandoned places in Gary, Indiana, other places around Chicago. We'd go into abandoned churches, hospitals, factories, whatever, doing urban exploration. So it really wasn't that big of a shock to us to, see debris and things falling apart. And we didn't really feel unsafe at any time. So, except the stairs.
Yeah, the stairs were really bad.
The metal stairs were horrible.
Yeah.
Rusted and
rungs broken and missing.
Yeah, it going up and down, and most of the stairs were unclimbable. There was just they were safe. Collapsed and gone. And the one that we did go up, you didn't exactly feel safe on it, but it turned out to be fine.
Yeah.
So
and as a disclaimer, we don't encourage anybody to break into any places or, go to locations that are unsafe or, obviously, go into areas that are unsafe. We always use our best judgment when going into areas. And if we feel that something is not safe, not stable, we're not going to take that risk because, you could face serious injury or even death with, being in a collapsed room or anything like that. So it's, we always caution our viewers, please take this very, very seriously. Urban exploration is really fun, but there's a lot of risk involved too. So, be smart and be safe.
But everybody's risk level is different.
Yes.
And what we feel is okay for us might not be for you. And obviously there's going to be some people that are going to look at what we thought mildly unsafe and think, oh, this is no problem. I'm going to run up here and it's nothing. So,
use your best judgment.
Yeah, and always be with somebody so that if something happens, that they can go get help if you need it. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
Don't do it by yourself, which we've done too. Probably a mistake, but that's what we do. Man, I'm gonna be. It's not even warm yet, and I'm already sweating. Uh-oh. You hear something?
Someone is here. His name is William, and that's all he wants us to know about him.
William.
Yeah.
William is here. William.
It's okay, I don't know him.
And he's gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'd like to know is we are in this, I don't know, what is it, a shower area?
Yeah.
And Lauren is touching the wall, and she's very still. And then the next thing we know, William is huddled in the corner talking to her. So can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So in the video, you'll see me, I walk past the shower area and then I come back. I do that frequently where I will do like a pass at an area to see if I feel anything. And if I do, then I will go into the area to further investigate. And in this, I felt a spirit presence. So I actually felt an actual spirit. And so I went into the shower area to get that closer proximity so I could investigate if I would be able to make contact with that spirit and get any information. And I was able to get quite a fair amount of information. So when I made contact with that wall, I was making contact with that spirit. That's what I was in particular, trying to accomplish. And I can like pointedly decide, how I want to make contact with what area, if it's a general sweep or a pointed this one thing in particular. And I saw William, which was one of the inmates. He was in the shower area. He was huddled in that corner. Like he was like sitting on the floor with his knees drawn up to his chest with his arms around his knees. He was very scared. He was very scared. He did not trust me. He did not trust any of us. He was very scared of us. I could feel just the fear radiating off of him.
You said he was naked.
Yes, he was naked and he was wet.
So probably something had happened to him, maybe in the shower. The other inmates had assaulted him or something in some way while he was actually in the shower, and that's the image that was left.
Yeah. So I don't know specifically what happened to him. I did not get that information, and specifically, he did not want to give me that information. He only gave me that his name was William, and that was all he wanted to let me know. He didn't want me to know what happened to him. He didn't want me to know anything else specific about him. Other than his name and that he was very, very scared. So, yeah.
And I did not feel anything. There was nothing. For me, there was nothing. Whereas you'll see later on, I'll discuss it more in detail, but there were some other areas where I did pick up something, an uneasy feeling. But in this area, I had no inkling that there was anybody there, no ill feeling or unease, whatever. So... okay, so we'll move on to the next thing.
Yep.
Yep.
He was not violent, just scared.
Huh. Interesting. William, our first named encounter. A fairly benign presence, I take it?
Yep.
Well, that's good.
Say hi.
Well, as the models show up, he should get more excited.
Like a lot.
Your hands are tingling?
Uh-huh. Like almost like when your foot's asleep.
Oh, like my finger tingles. Huh. Interesting.
He said, we see you, we hear you. Come closer.
We see you, we hear you, come closer.
Yeah. Ooh, all right.
Very interesting, huh?
Yeah. Ooh, they're getting riled up. They're getting riled up. They're excited.
Oh boy. They're excited, honey. Lauren did not get a lot of ill feelings. We didn't get a lot of interesting vibes and stuff. But in this one hallway, she touches both walls, and eventually, by the end of it, her hands are hurting and tingling from the intense sensation. So, and she was hearing voices. They were telling her something. So, what was happening when you were plugged into the wall on both sides there?
So it is important to note that it is a two-way connection when I plug into spaces and try to investigate things and people, that they can also push back against me. You know, they can make contact with me, they can push back against me, and sometimes I do experience, you know, that they want to do me harm. And in this instance, I was trying to plug into a space because when we walked through this hallway, I suddenly got this very weird feeling. It was very ominous, very not good. Like it was, you know, it didn't feel violent or like I should be scared. It was just very suddenly, like I kind of stopped and was like, whoa, there is something going on here.
Yeah, it was odd because you had stopped, you were touching both sides, and you were very quiet for a long time. And I was standing behind you, and I was thinking, this is very cinematic. Nice. The light's nice. The hallway is nice. And you can see I'm kind of filming her up close with a silhouette kind of her head and her hair. And I'm filming her hand and everything because I'm thinking, photographer, right? I'm thinking, the cinematic look. I like this. This is nice. And then all of a sudden she starts talking.
So when I plugged in, you know, I was mainly getting more of this very ominous bad feeling, not angry or violent. It was just very, something is about to happen and it's not so good. And suddenly I heard voices. It was multiple voices all talking together, like simultaneously, saying, we see you, we hear you, come closer. And it did not feel like those voices were coming from that immediate space we were in. Actually, it felt like it was somewhere else in the prison. It felt like that was the first time that I made contact where the majority of whatever the spirits and entities are that are in the prison in general, I feel like that's when they really pinpointed that I was there, that they recognized my presence.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's the first time you've told me that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so that was when I first felt, okay, the whole prison basically officially knows I'm there. And they were letting me know that they knew that I was there. You know, and so that was my first clue that I'm like, all right, we got to be on our guard. You know, we got to be safe. You know, anything can happen. I mean, literally anything can happen. And my hands started to really tingle. And a big part of that is that, you know, I'm physically channeling energy when I make contact. Like, again, it's like electricity, basically. I have all this energy going in and out of me. And it can be very intense. And sometimes my hands can tingle when, you know, I make that physical contact, and it can get so intense that it's actually painful. It can be painful just because it's so intense, or it can sometimes be painful because there's pushback or because something wishes me harm. In this case, it was just so incredibly intense that it was painful, and I had to stop because it was so overwhelming.
Which reminds me of a discussion we had, I think the next day, maybe. You had brought 4 small battery packs for to recharge your phone.
Yes.
The little
like juice bars.
Yeah, the little small ones. Not big like I use, but smaller, which you had 4 of them, right? Yeah. And the next day, or was it that night?
It was that night.
That night.
Yeah.
But you told me the next day you checked them, and 3 of them had been drained completely.
Yeah.
And during the day while we were there at the prison, and you had never used any of them.
No.
And normally they would last for days before they would discharge. I mean, they're not like they're worn out and
No.
used up, right?
No, I always just, overkill, bring lots of battery packs with me whenever I go anywhere just to make sure that I have power for my phone. And all, like 3 out of the 4 were just completely dead, completely drained. And that is a common anomaly that people will encounter when going in any haunted space, is that, batteries will be drained, electronics will suddenly have no power and stuff like that. And what people have discovered, cause and effect here, is that the spirits are draining the electrical power in order to use that so that they can do things, basically, because it takes energy to do anything, whether you're alive or you're a ghost or whatever, it takes energy. So, if there's a readily available power source available, they're going to take advantage of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that concludes the honor dorm for us, I believe, but we're going to move on to the next location.